Urologist reveals how to drink water to avoid getting up at night. Dr. Dillon, I want to ask you something personal right now. How many times did you get up last night to use the bathroom? Once, twice, 3 times or more? If the answer is anything more than 0, and for millions of Americans over 60 the answer is 2, 3 or even 4 times, I need you to understand something that most people have never been told. Waking up at night to urinate is not simply an inevitable consequence of getting older. It is not something you just have to accept and manage with multiple trips to the bathroom and disrupted sleep and exhaustion every single morning. In the majority of cases, the primary driver of nighttime urination is not your bladder. It is not your prostate. It is not your kidneys working against you. It is something far simpler and far more fixable. It is how you are drinking water, when you drink it, how much you drink at certain times, and the specific patterns that most Americans have developed over decades that are quietly and consistently filling their bladder at exactly the wrong time every single night. My name is Dr. Dillon. I am a physician with over a decade of clinical experience, and today I am going to share the hydration strategies that urologists recommend, backed by research from the Cleveland Clinic, Mayo Clinic, the NHS, the National Institute of Diabetes and Digestive and Kidney Diseases, and the International Continence Society, that can meaningfully reduce your nighttime bathroom trips, improve your bladder control, and support deeper, more restorative sleep. These are practical changes you can start tonight. No medications, no complicated routines, just a smarter relationship with water. Please stay with me until the end, because the third mistake I am going to describe is the one that affects the most people and the one that almost nobody knows about. Before I give you the specific strategies, I want to make sure you understand what is actually happening physiologically when you wake up needing to urinate, because this understanding is essential for knowing why the timing and pattern of your fluid intake matters so much. The condition of waking up at night to urinate is called nocturia, and the International Continence Society defines it as waking 1 or more times during the night specifically to urinate. 1 or more times. According to the ICS's own published guidelines, nocturia affects approximately 50% of adults over 60 and increases progressively with age, reaching 60 to 70% of adults over 70. So, if you are waking up at night, you are in very large company. But common does not mean inevitable, and common does not mean untreatable. Nocturia has several distinct physiological causes, and understanding which one or ones are driving your nighttime trips is the key to addressing it effectively. The most common cause, and the one most directly addressable through hydration habits, is global polyuria. This means your body is producing too much total urine over the 24-hour period. When total urine production is high, the excess has to go somewhere. And while the bladder manages daytime urine through conscious voluntary voiding, at night, when you are not actively managing your bladder, the excess urine accumulates and eventually reaches the threshold that triggers waking. The second cause is nocturnal polyuria specifically, producing a disproportionate amount of urine at night compared to the day. In healthy young adults, only about 30% of daily urine production occurs overnight. In many older adults, this proportion reverses, with 50% or more of daily urine being produced during the night. This reversal happens because of hormonal changes, specifically changes in antidiuretic hormone production with aging, and because of patterns of fluid intake that front-load daily hydration incorrectly. The third cause is reduced bladder capacity, or overactive bladder, where the bladder holds less before triggering the urge to void. All 3 of these causes are influenced by when and how you drink water throughout the day. The first hydration strategy that urologists consistently recommend is establishing a fluid cutoff time in the evening. The Cleveland Clinic's published guidance on nocturia specifically identifies evening fluid restriction as one of the most effective lifestyle modifications for reducing nighttime urination. The general recommendation is to stop consuming fluids, including water, tea, soup, and any other liquids, approximately 2 to 3 hours before your intended sleep time. If you plan to be in bed by 10 p.m., your fluid intake should taper significantly by 7 p.m. and stop almost entirely by 8 p.m. The 2 to 3 hour window allows your kidneys time to process and excrete the fluids consumed during the afternoon and evening before you lie down, so that the urine from those fluids is produced and passed during evening bathroom trips before bed, rather than during the night while you sleep. This single adjustment, consistently applied, has been shown in multiple studies to reduce nocturia episodes by 1 to 2 trips per night in a significant proportion of patients. It sounds almost too simple to be meaningful, but it works because it addresses the fundamental timing mismatch between when fluid is consumed and when the resulting urine reaches the bladder. The most common mistake people make with this strategy is being inconsistent, following it on some nights but not others. Consistency is essential because the bladder and the body's fluid regulatory systems need several days of consistent behavior to recalibrate toward the new pattern. The second strategy involves redistributing when you drink most of your daily fluids. Most Americans, particularly older adults who have been advised to stay hydrated for kidney and cardiovascular health, drink relatively little during the morning hours, and then compensate by drinking more in the afternoon and evening. This pattern is almost perfectly designed to produce nocturia. The kidneys process fluid and produce urine most efficiently during the active daytime hours, when metabolism is high and the body is upright. Gravity assists bladder filling, and regular conscious voiding prevents accumulation. The optimal fluid distribution pattern for adults concerned about nocturia is front-loading hydration, consuming the majority of your daily fluid intake in the morning and early afternoon, and progressively reducing intake through the late afternoon and evening. A practical target is consuming at least 60% of your daily fluid intake before 2 p.m. Drink your 16-ounce glass of water immediately upon waking. Have your morning beverages through the late morning. Drink generously with lunch and through the early afternoon. Then begin tapering, a smaller amount with dinner and nothing significant after your fluid cutoff time. This pattern ensures your kidneys are processing the majority of your fluid load during hours when your bladder is actively managed and when nocturia is not a concern. The Mayo Clinic specifically references daytime fluid management as a key component of nocturia treatment, noting that timing of fluid intake is often more impactful than total fluid volume in determining nighttime urination frequency. The third strategy is the one I mentioned at the beginning, the one that affects the most people and that almost nobody knows about. And that is the specific impact of caffeine and alcohol consumed in the afternoon and evening on nighttime urination. Both caffeine and alcohol are diuretics. They increase urine production by interfering with antidiuretic hormone function and increasing kidney filtration rate. But their diuretic effect is delayed. Caffeine consumed at 3 or 4 in the afternoon produces its peak diuretic effect 2 to 4 hours later, right in the window when you want your urine production to be decreasing, not increasing. An afternoon cup of coffee at 3 p.m. can be producing peak diuretic urine output at 5 to 7 p.m. And if that peak production coincides with reduced bladder management attention in the early evening hours, it can fill the bladder in ways that either require an extra evening trip or carry over into early nighttime waking. Similarly, alcohol consumed with dinner at 6 or 7 p.m. produces a diuretic effect that peaks in the late evening and early morning hours, directly in the window when nocturia is most disruptive. The NHS guidance on urinary problems specifically identifies caffeine and alcohol as bladder irritants that worsen nocturia and recommends reducing or eliminating evening consumption of both. Cutting your last caffeinated beverage to before noon, or at the absolute latest before 2 p.m., removes the afternoon diuretic contribution to nighttime urine production. And limiting alcohol to the early evening at the latest, or ideally avoiding it entirely for people with significant nocturia, removes one of the most consistent but least recognized drivers of nighttime bathroom trips. The fourth strategy addresses something called leg edema, the pooling of fluid in the lower legs and feet during the day that is extremely common in adults over 60. Many older adults notice that their ankles and lower legs swell during the day, a process we discussed in detail in our swollen feet video. What most people do not know is that this pooled fluid does not stay in the legs overnight. When you lie down and elevate your legs horizontally, gravity reverses its effect, and the fluid that was pooled in the lower extremities begins to drain back into the central circulation. The kidneys then have to process this sudden surge of fluid, producing a corresponding surge in urine output that occurs precisely in the 2 to 3 hours after you lie down. This is why many people with leg edema find that their worst nocturia episodes occur in the first half of the night. The NIDDK specifically identifies leg edema fluid mobilization as a contributing mechanism to nocturia in older adults. Addressing the edema directly, through leg elevation during the late afternoon before bed, wearing compression stockings during the day, reducing sodium intake, and staying active with regular walking to activate the calf muscle pump, reduces the volume of fluid available to mobilize at night, and correspondingly reduces the nocturia it produces. Specifically elevating your legs above heart level for 30 to 60 minutes in the late afternoon, 2 to 3 hours before bed, allows the pooled fluid to drain back to the central circulation and be processed by the kidneys while you are still awake, and can manage the resulting urine output through conscious voiding before sleep. The fifth strategy involves understanding your personal bladder capacity and training your bladder through timed voiding during the day. Reduced functional bladder capacity, meaning the bladder triggers the urge to void at a lower volume than it could physiologically hold, is common in adults over 60 and contributes significantly to nocturia. When the bladder habitually voids at low volumes, it becomes accustomed to that pattern and begins signaling urgency at progressively lower volumes over time. Bladder training, the practice of gradually extending the intervals between daytime voids to retrain the bladder toward holding greater volumes, is a first-line recommendation in the International Continence Society's Nocturia Treatment Guidelines. Start by tracking your current daytime voiding interval, how long between bathroom trips during the day. If you find you are going every 45 minutes to an hour, try extending to 60 to 75 minutes by consciously delaying when you feel the first urge. Over several weeks, gradually extend the interval by 15 minutes at a time until you can comfortably wait 2 to 3 hours between daytime voids. As your bladder retrains to hold larger volumes during the day, its nighttime capacity also improves, reducing the frequency with which it reaches the threshold that triggers waking. I want to close with something that I consider genuinely important for anyone watching this video. Nocturia is not just an inconvenience. The disrupted sleep that results from multiple nighttime bathroom trips has real and serious health consequences. Sleep fragmentation from nocturia increases blood pressure, worsens blood sugar control, accelerates cognitive decline, increases cardiovascular risk, and dramatically increases fall risk. Because getting up multiple times in the dark to navigate to the bathroom is one of the leading causes of injurious falls in older adults. Addressing nocturia is not a quality of life luxury, it is a genuine health priority. And the strategies I have described today, fluid cutoff timing, front-loaded hydration, caffeine and alcohol management, leg edema reduction, and bladder training, address the most common and most modifiable causes of nocturia through practical daily habit changes. If you implement these strategies consistently for 2 weeks and still find you are waking more than once per night to urinate, please bring this specifically to your doctor's attention. Nocturia can also be caused by conditions including diabetes, heart failure, sleep apnea, and in men benign prostatic hyperplasia, conditions that require medical evaluation and treatment beyond lifestyle modification. Do not assume nocturia is simply aging. Investigate it. It deserves your attention, and it responds to treatment more often than most people realize. I am Dr. Dylan. Start tonight with your fluid cutoff time. Your sleep is worth it. Hit the like button. Subscribe to Healthy After 60. Share this with someone who is exhausted from waking up multiple times every night. And I will see you in the next video. Take care of yourself. Starting tonight. Before I truly close today, I want to give you a simple, practical checklist that you can implement starting tonight. Because having a concrete action plan makes the difference between watching a video and actually changing behavior. Tonight before bed, stop all fluid intake 2 to 3 hours before your bedtime. If you have swollen ankles or legs, elevate your legs above heart level for 30 to 60 minutes in the late afternoon today. Make your last caffeinated drink before noon tomorrow morning. Limit or eliminate alcohol in the evening. These 4 things together address the most impactful and immediately modifiable causes of nocturia. Starting tomorrow morning, front-load your fluid intake. Drink your largest amounts of water in the morning and early afternoon. Taper progressively through the afternoon and stop at your cutoff time. Track your daytime voiding intervals and begin gently extending them by 15 minutes. Over the following 2 weeks, you should notice a progressive reduction in nighttime bathroom trips if the modifiable causes I described are the primary drivers of your nocturia. Keep a simple log, 1 column for date, 1 for how many times you woke to urinate. The improving numbers on that log will be one of the most motivating things you can track for your sleep health. And share this video with someone you love who is losing sleep to nocturia every single night. They deserve to know that this is not inevitable. It is fixable. I am Dr. Dylan. Sleep well tonight. I will see you in the next video.